All right, let's give this another shot. Welcome to Spear Point, and welcome and happy 111. So, January 11th, 2025. Happy New Year. Um, the groundwork year. Welcome. And it's been a while since my last two videos. A lot transpired. I had to go through quite the compression pressure cooker stage to show up again. So, and here we are. So, happy Saturday. I hope this is a joyous day for everyone that takes part in this video. And really, whatever messages want to come through, basically. What the theme that I wanted to open up was the that your soul always knows where to go regardless. And so when I kind of set that in motion, I thought, oh, perfect, it will be like a couple of days after the second video I posted, and I would just open up that container. Yeah, a lot more came about from that. So it's been a journey, and so I just want to open it up with what wants to come through in that way. I would say that firsthand experience for me is that your soul always is control on everything that's happening. So that even means the dark and the dense moments as well. And what could be described as self-sabotage as well. Like, that's part of the journey. And this is where it gets a little bit like, it can get murky. But if you always look at it from your soul's point of view, then you just continue and you follow and you will make it through regardless, and things will get lighter and better because you're on that path. As long as you kind of like, as long as you can still come home, it's just like all the entire journey, including the pitfalls, are part of it. Like one of the moments that I saw in my own stream. So when I was 22, like I was really in a rough spot. Like I was back home living at my parents, didn't have a whole lot going for me, was completely bound up. And I was getting free, but at the same time I was really dense. And one of the people that I went to go see and help work with this, she told me to do like this step-by-step program and focus it on it every day. And there was a moment where my internal system completely jarred and said, no, we're not doing it. And it was working. It was 100% working. But then I kind of threw in the hands and be like, no, I'm not doing this. Because my system like hit this point where it went into, what's the right word? Rebellion, but it's not quite rebellion. It's like, anyways, I wasn't going to have it. So I just said no. And my life got worse. And it got way more dense. But it needed to happen that way. Like looking back on it, the fact that it got worse wasn't a telltale sign that I was doing something wrong. It was a sign that I kind of had to go that way. And the stubbornness and the, how should we say, the self-sabotage and everything else that was like rearing its ugly heads were supposed to rear their heads. Like it had to go that way. And when it did, like things unlocked in the proper timing because I went that way. It's kind of like when, well, this is kind of a crude analogy, but it's what's coming to me. If you have a toddler and you tell them no several times, like don't touch the hot stove, like this is not good for you. You could either control them, really put in the hooks and like, start yelling and get more and more aggressive yourself to let them obey. And then that will just kind of rear its ugly head later in life. Or you can sit back and say, okay, like I've told you so many times, don't touch the hot stove. And then you can let them. And then that will satiate the curiosity and the I'm going to do it my way. And they'll realize why you were saying don't do it that way. That's what's kind of coming to me right now. It's like, oh, like there's so many people that were like telling me, like, this is how you get out of it. And it wasn't the way out for me. I had to go through my own way and go into the shadows and get even worse in that self betrayal to find my own way out because I had to create my own way out. That's the fun part, is that your soul knows where to go always, but sometimes where you're going isn't created yet. So there's other people that have a way about doing things, like even myself, me telling you this. Like, there is, your soul can co-create with all of creation. It's a co-creation. You don't just get to create whatever the hell you want. That's not how it works. It's a co-creation. You can co-create, but if it's from your soul, and if you're going a certain way, like sometimes it's not even been existed yet, and it needs to be co-created. And your way is how it gets done. Like, there wasn't a landing spot for a lot of me and a lot of my life. I had to kind of find my way to do it. But I also didn't forcefully do it. Like, honestly, if I look at my life, I can say that I didn't know where the hell I was going. How this would all work. Really didn't. And I just listened and followed because that was the only option I had. Because there was a time in my life where I kind of hit this point where I thought I knew what's best, and I took with it and ran, and I got slapped in the face. And so I threw up my hands and be like, okay, like I will go where you want me to go then. And that's me talking to my own heart and soul. And when that started to happen, then you're like really starting to just do it day by day basis of being like, okay, like, don't get me wrong, the self-critique and the self-sabotage is there as well. Like, there was huge moments when I moved to Montana, which was really guided, where I knew I was supposed to be doing something, but at the same time, I just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go fishing. And then when you go fishing, you have how many beers while you're out on the kayak, right? And then you go about your day, and it's just like, oh yeah, well, I did feel that. Oh, whatever. Like, and there was several years where I spent like that until one moment where things changed, and then I was just like, okay, like that doesn't get to work that much anymore. Like, I don't get to blow it off. If I hear the call, then it's just like, oh, like we have to go. But seeing all of this, and then just following through from your heart and soul guidance, or even following through with that uncomfortability of being like, I don't know if there's a way to do about this. I don't know if I'll ever get through this. Following through, you'll, like, one of the real benefits and one gifts that I've seen just recently is how everything has been completely divinely orchestrated. Like, and you give me like 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. I don't think I could like logically and meticulously plan everything in this way, but it just fell into place so naturally, so divinely timed. And every little instance this last year to the last 2 years to the last 3 years to the last 5 years, that everything is kind of like syncing up in such a manner that I look at it and be like, oh no, like this is the whole way it's supposed to go. And you know what's funny? My soul always knew that. Connor didn't. Fuck no, Connor didn't. But like my soul did. And I had those feelings and those inklings and those joy sparks within me that let me know that I was on the right path. Did I see the whole picture? Fuck no. Do I even see the whole picture now? Absolutely not. But I can see that everything I have done and the path that I have followed and the ups and the downs, especially the moments where it's like, it really doesn't make sense and I wanted to throw in the towel. There was several times this last summer where that was the case, where I looked at it and be like, all right, like this doesn't make any sense. Like I'm done. Like I'll throw in the towel and I just want a normal life. And then immediately, like, that's like not an option. And I'll be like, no, I've done that before. And I spent a couple years, like I touched the stove on that one. I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. It's like, okay, fine, it doesn't make sense, but everything, all these messages and all this trajectory, it's been exactly where I've always wanted to wind up. So even though it's scary, it's uncomfortable, it's going into the unknown, it's all coming together at the same time. So the more I've practiced that, the more I can see all these huge energies coming together. And also that my soul always knew where to go, even in the dark moments. Like there's been moments in my life where it's been increasingly dark, where I didn't know if I was going to make it out. Honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be alive the next day. And to look back at those and be like, oh no, those needed to happen that way. And even the darkest moments, like I remember one of my most traumatic memories that I ever have to my soul, when I was kind of revealed this memory, how it appeared to me was like, it came through a kind of a, during a dream slate slash vision, where what happened was Connor, the egoic identity representation of Connor, like how I operate in the world, was going through a life review with my soul essence. So my entire being was present, and he was like showing me along the way different things that happened. And we came across this moment, and this was the only thing I remember from that memory, was it was the most horrific moment that I know of in this lifetime. And it was such a moment, and my mental and my egoic Connor was looking at it and was just remembering the feeling of being fractured from this moment, and the horror and the density and everything that kind of done it. But because I was witnessing it from my soul essence, it wasn't that at all. How it looked was actually like, it feels disrespectful to call it comedic, but it wasn't. It was, there was an element of levity to the whole situation because it wasn't as serious as I was experiencing it. Don't get me wrong, it was very, very traumatic. But from a soul essence, like it was just like it was the path and the stream that needed to go that way. And this was a moment where it was the most dense, the most traumatic, where everything kind of separated and the being was kind of like really spread apart and very, very far apart. And when I saw this, it was kind of like, it was an element of levity because the whole situation was presented of just like, oh, look how simple that was. You forgot. It's just like, now you got to come back. And the way in which you come back was like the whole stream, my whole being was like searching and repairing and healing itself. And like that was my mission, like when I was all my, you know, early teens and 20s, like that was what's running in the background. But it pushed me, it I pushed myself to the absolute level because I was willing to repair those brokenness and that kind of stuff. But I really went all the way, and I knew that I could handle it. So that was kind of like, and this is just one outlook. There's way more to it, but that's okay. Like this is all that I've got at the moment, and I trust that. And it's the element of trust and faith in the whole stream, your whole love, your whole being, and the fact that your journey is always working exactly how it's supposed to, even if you fail, even if you don't show up the way you're supposed to. Like, to be completely frank, like even these videos, like, you know how many times I was just like, man, I gotta show up and like I want to post every day, like the energy didn't happen that way. Like this last couple of weeks has been like a whole bunch of shifts that demanded my entire attention, and I did that. And the shame and the all that kind of stuff also needed to be transmuted, because the path and the way you go is exactly yours. It is perfect the way it is. Just listen and follow, because the self critique is a poison that is interesting. And don't get me wrong, even that, I mean, it's not like that's like a little thing outside of it where your soul doesn't have complete um, guiding force over it. I mean, that's also part of the journey, those little moments of self critique. Like, I don't know the full scope of it in each and every moment, but I trust the whole process. I trust the whole process. There's nothing that you can throw at me in life where I won't know that I'm always welcomed home and that my soul has always got me, because it's my life. If it happened to me, my soul kind of already arranged this, because it's that level that I come from. Nobody gets to kind of like, they can kind of make you forget, and things can get very extreme. I'm not discrediting that. I've been there. It's like they can get very uncomfortable and very dense and very dark, but your soul's always there. The support's always there. I mean, your soul support is like how you're integrated in the planet with the land. I mean, these support networks are on top of each other. I mean, they're always there. They're always working, whether you know it or not. And it's like the fact that you're cut off, or seemingly cut off, that the mental state and the egoic state, or the body, or, use whatever term you would think, is just going to be really, really fractured. But the soul always has you. I mean, it's that stream always knows where to go, because it's integrated with all of creation, and the stream has to continue. So like, your path is so perfect, even if it's terrible or seemingly terrible from my viewpoint, whatever it is. And that's where you kind of look at it from and be like, okay, like, I'm going to continue then and go about this way. And that relinquishes so many other things, because from that viewpoint, you have to face so much of, like, the self-betrayal and the self-shame now don't have as much power, because you're not giving them as much power, because you know that it's all part of the process. So they actually naturally start to quiet down. The justification, or the guilty and just rulings, or anything like that, where it's like, that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Like, how is that even allowed to happen? Like, the most, in just a stream of consciousness, like, you're looking at your own stream, because once you apply it to outside yourself, then everything gets very more complicated. And I'm not going to speak about that. I'm talking about your own stream, when you look at your own events. And you can have, even speaking from my own experience, you can have these moments where people did atrocities to you. And you can look at it and say, how is that ever allowed to happen? That shouldn't be allowed to happen. This is wrong. And you're right. But at the same time, it needed to happen. And the point in which you get free, at least from my own story, is that it wasn't going to work. Like, that point of the real densities in my life really didn't move until I could look at them with absolute love and grace and know that they had to happen. An apology wasn't really even needed, because I was moved beyond it. Like, I had seen it, it had happened, but I moved, and I really thanked them for their interaction in that point, because it made me grow. I knew the gifts from that moment, and it wasn't there was no need to go back. Like, I had freed myself. So even if the people involved in that little point came to me and said, we're sorry for what we did, it wouldn't be needed. Like, an apology isn't needed, because it's all good. It all had to happen in that way. So, and when I was looking at it from that point, it was all love. That's all it was. That's all I felt was love. And that's how I knew. I was just like, oh, I've moved out of this. And now, from that point of view, I can look at my whole stream and like interact with different things and just be moved and go different places. Like the density's still there. Like I quitting my job at the end of the month, right? So my interaction with the world and how I earn money is now, there's a little bit of pressure there. So let's see how this goes. And that's where I'm looking at it and being like, okay, like I'll listen and follow. Let's go. Let's do this. Like I'm okay. Like if things absolutely burn and up and fail, right? It's just a concept. But if you look at it, you can feel the energy kind of moving in that way, and you're just being like, oh yeah, I'll just listen and follow to wherever my soul's going to go, wherever the mountains tell me to go. Like the energy's moving, and it's always going in that way. The more conscious I get about it, the more potent the experience, and the more potent the expression, and the more you're embodied. It's how these kind of levels up. So see if everything else wants to come through. This is more like my own stuff, so this is interesting, but it feels okay. So what else? I'm moving, so at the end of the month I'm gone. So that's like the yurt won't be here anymore. So I'll try to get as many videos as I can because I like the setup. I love yurts. That'll be really, really fun. But yeah, just getting shot out of a cannon, and you listen and follow and go where you're called, where your soul calls you to go. And that can be exactly where you are. And the thing is that you're always on that path, even if you try to screw it up. Because I tried. And you're loved. You are love. And the pain and the sorrow are part of it, but they're not who you are. That's probably a big one that I would like to say. So with that, happy 111, happy Saturday from the snowy mountains of Montana. It stopped snowing outside, so we're good there. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy 2025 to all that is to come. And I send a lot of love to everybody who feels guided to listen to this. So thank you very much. And until next time, shine bright.